Symbiotes have become some of the most popular creations of Marvel. Years ago, Peter Parker was given a change to his costume that ended up getting a life of its own, literally. After many fans responded negatively to the redesign of Spider-Man's costume. This costume would go on to be explained as a symbiote, an alien entity that had bonded with Peter and would later bond with Eddie Brock to become Venom. Venom became so popular that he ended up spawning both literally and in some cases metaphorically other symbiotes such as Carnage, Scream, Hybrid, and even the Grendel symbiote, as we learn more and more about these unique entities and their homeworld of Clintar. It is therefore unsurprising that symbiotes have popped up everywhere since their rise in popularity, including even all. You don't think these things are as cool as Venom just on their own, just how they're used, like to create a sentry without a void, that's insane. Number 8, Port Grind. Okay, so hear me out. Yes, this version of Venom does come from the same alternate universe as Peter Porker of Earth 8311. And I know what you are thinking, this maybe makes him more ridiculous than the original, not cooler, Amanda. But the crazy thing about any alternates that are from the Aniverse of Earth 8311 is that they have insane physics-defying fighting techniques due to the fact that they are cartoons. Because of this, the Port Grind of Earth 8311 could likely kick the butt of Earth 616's Venom, squishing him into just like a little ball of putty in his hands. He'd like squish it into a ball and then like slam dunk it or something. Now, does increased power equal increased coolness? I think in this case it does, but you can be the judge on that and you can let me know your thoughts on the Aniverse and Port Grind in the comments below. Number 7, 1602 Carnage. Why 1602? Because everything is kind of better and often prettier in the alternate 1602 universe. This version of Carnage is a demon who is bonded with Candace Cassidy, who also happens to be the leader of the Sinister Sextet in this alternate universe. A version of the Sinister Six led by Carnage? Well, to me, that is a deadly and insane team. The Sinister Sextet included a version of the Lizard known as Reptile, a version of Hobgoblin, an alternate for Kraven known as Karnov, the 1602 version of Electro, and an alternate Mysterio known as Magnus. Number 6, Symbiote Spider-Man. When we're talking about Spider-Man as a villain, there is almost no one more unstoppable or worse than Symbiote Spider-Man from the 1989 What If series, in issue number 4. This What If posed the question of what if Spider-Man had become possessed by the symbiote, and it was unable to be separated from him. This resulted in Spider-Man becoming the ultimate villain himself, far greater than Eddie Brock's Venom ever was or probably would be. This symbiote took full control over Peter and eventually left him to possess the Hulk, and then moved on to Thor. It just moved on to like more and more powerful beings. The only thing that could stop it was Black Bolt's sonic scream, but it wreaked more havoc than many other symbiotes, save the Grendel symbiote, maybe, ever have. And it also drained like the life energy of Peter, like he was like a little old man at the end. Number 5, Spider Carnage. What's cooler than Cletus Cassidy as Carnage? A determined Peter Parker as Carnage with bigger ambitions, like destroying the multiverse. That was the goal of Spider Carnage from an alternate Earth that we got to visit alongside the main continuity Spider-Man in the episode of Spider Wars Part 1 from the 90s Spider-Man animated series. Spider-Man was forced to amass an army of alternate selves plus an alternate Uncle Ben to put a stop to Spider Carnage, who became a killer after the tragic loss of both his Uncle Ben and his Aunt May. Aww. Number 4, First Draft Venom. Did you know that Eddie Brock actually wasn't the original idea for Venom? At least that's how the story goes. When David Michelinie originally pitched the origins for Venom, it wasn't Eddie Brock in the driver's seat of this symbiotic relationship. It was actually a female character instead. If Michelinie's original pitch had been accepted, we'd have seen a different story, one that featured the tragic story of a woman who lost her family, all because Spider-Man personally, I think, gave her more reason to become an even greater villain than Eddie Brock was. The origin story went that the woman was pregnant and was going into labor. Her and her husband were rushing to the hospital, and her husband stepped into the street to frantically hail a cab. Unfortunately, everyone was distracted by a battle happening between Spider-Man and a supervillain in the sky above at the time, and the woman watches as her husband is mercilessly run over. She immediately goes into labor and loses her baby as well to boot. Whew, rough. Admitted to a mental institution, she blamed Spider-Man for her loss, and you can likely guess what happens next. This would have potentially made for an even more compelling and tragic story than the one we got with Eddie Brock. Also, I would be thinking, kind of fair maybe that you're upset. Number 3, Ultimate Venom. There are a couple different versions of Ultimate Venom on the Earth of 1610, the Conrad Marcus version and the Eddie Brock Jr. version. This alternate version of the Venom symbiote was created to be a cure for cancer as opposed to being an alien entity from outer space, and as such its healing and regenerative properties supersede even the Earth 616 version. Like in the Tom Hardy Venomverse, however, this suit can only bond with specific people that it's been created for, and if it isn't compatible, it will kill you. Following down that same murderous path, it has an insatiable hunger and needs to feed off others in order to survive. Failing to keep it properly fed can result in it consuming its wearer instead, but its only other weakness is to extremely strong electric shocks. Extremely strong. This gigantic powerhouse of a symbiote has been shown to be stronger than both Miles Morales and Peter Parker of Earth 1610 combined. So it's also stronger than our Venom, I think. Also just looks bigger. Number 2, GR35. That's what I'm calling this symbiote, because that's kind of where it exists. This version of the suspected Venom symbiote shows up at the end of the 2018 Spider-Man game, which takes place on Earth 1048. This universe actually also has its own comics now as well, so you can read those if you really like it. This symbiote appears to show up in a secret lab in a tank with Harry Osborn, labeled GR35, likely a reference to the Ultimate Universe. It's suspected that we will likely see this version of the symbiote in action in the second game, and that it could even be combined with the Goblin Serum, so maybe some kind of Green Goblin and Venom hybrid with Harry Osborn, which honestly sounds super cool. We've seen the insanity that was Red Goblin before in the comics with Norman and Carnage coming together, so a Venom/Goblin Harry is definitely something that I would be excited to see. Especially if he's like bad originally and then he becomes good or something like that. I'm into it. Could be fun. Number 1, Edward Sachs. Edward Sachs gets such a high spot because of just how terrifyingly massive he is, and how evil he is as well. He's pretty evil. This version of Venom has taken up a job in politics and appears to be the mayor of New York, Mayor Waters' aide in the Spider-Man Reign storyline, which takes place on Earth 70237. Edward Sachs, as he is referred to though, actually appears to be the one pulling the mayor's strings and seems to have more control than most aides over what goes on in the city of New York. He also has been working to bring back the Sinister Six. He also made thousands of copies of the Venom symbiote and is responsible for Web, a security group responsible for preventing anyone from leaving the city. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you enjoyed diving into the world of alternate universes and their symbiotes with me. What is your favorite symbiote? Do you have a favorite alternate symbiote that you've seen? What has been your favorite storyline involving symbiotes so far in the comics? Was it Absolute Carnage? I bet it was. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from our previous videos, Top 10 Strongest Mutants Who Lost to Wolverine Part 2. Mr. Scary 3105 comments, my Great Dane puppy would so steal those stuffies. Lol. No! Not my plushies! Please don't steal them. And if you haven't noticed, my plushies are very pristine, which tells you just how many animals I have here. Sadly, I have no cats or dogs to call my own. But I will happily take cute pet pics via my Twitter or my Instagram, so I can vicariously live through you all if you have any cute pets at home. So yes, just 3 undead succulents and Pablo, as I know some of you were asking me about where are all my cats. Sadly, I don't have any cats. Seth suggests top 10 most tragic moments in Wolverine's life. Oh my goodness, I could come up with at least 30 moments, I think, just off the top of my head. His whole life is just filled with tragedy. I could do a top 10 just moments that his origins were super tragic. He's had so many origins. Poor Logan. And that is all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below to have your thoughts shouted out in a future video. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight, reminding you, as always, to stay nerdy, YouTube. Bye, and stay safe. Wash your hands.